Thanks everyone for first of all for joining this and spending some time with us. As Harshita mentioned, we'll go through how CX will be. We will dig a little bit more deep into the CX and what AI is actually happening in the CX field. So let me start with a story, and with a story that a number of us can relate to, right? So let's say you want to follow up on an update for a support ticket that you have raised, and it's again asking you for the 100th time to post your ticket ID in the chat. So one bad experience like this, that's all kind of it takes for the customers to get frustrated and eventually churn. This isn't really unique. Today, almost 90% of the customers will walk away after just one poor experience. In a world where customers are using ChatGPT and advanced AI daily, traditional automation feels outdated and kind of frustrating. Also, as well, software development is becoming really fast with AI, and features can be built really fast by competitors. Exceptional CX then becomes one of the great levers where we can use that as our competitive advantage. So, but here's the challenge many companies start facing, right? As they scale from handling 100 to 10,000 customers, maintaining quality becomes incredibly expensive. You keep adding people, using outdated tools, and find yourself choosing between good service and reasonable cost. So the question kind of is that how do we deliver exceptional CX without breaking the bank, right? So of course, AI is here with all the promises to solve for this. And now this is where things are getting exciting, right? Remember chatbots that keep asking for order numbers even when customers can't find them? We are seeing kind of a complete transformation where these chatbots are becoming really more adaptive. As an example, let's say a customer writes in about returning shoes that don't fit. Instead of getting stuck in a loop asking for an order number, the AI agent can find their order through their email, process the return, and even help them find the right size, right? A large percentage of these customer interaction like these that I talked about holds a really great potential to be solved automatically. Um, and that too with conversations that feel natural and human and not button based and form based, that are, of course, also very hard to set up. In some even complex customer journeys, we feel that AI agents are achieving and can achieve 90% of full resolution rates without even human intervention. AI can also, of course, dedupe, route, attribute, and a lot more, saving time for the human agents to build really relationships with the customer. But AI is yet to deliver on the CX promise. I mean, let's get real for a minute. Despite these promises, many companies are struggling. A number of organizations that kind of think that all consumer actions is on their surface, meaning their customer portal and their ticketing system. In reality, most of the customer action is happening on the surfaces that the companies don't own. It's happening on social media, App Store reviews, mobile and the desktop app, Slack, MS Teams, you name it. Listening to customer was hard before, but it is becoming even more impossible now, given the scale and the diversity of data and the platform where your customers are residing. On top of that, customers have becoming more demanding, expecting personalized and seamless and real-time experiences across all touchpoints. So, in a sense, consumers are now holding companies accountable for both promises and shortcomings. So for this to solve, organizations are, collecting massive amounts of data, of customer data, yet transforming that into actionable insight is next to impossible because of the fragmented systems. AI has really become a really great board level topics in companies to talk about, but applied AI, meaning on production system, applying these AI is still a challenge and dream. I mean, you have seen in recent news the cautionary tales, right? Whether it's an AI hallucinating about your brand or even an AI agent hallucinating about an airplane airfare, right? It's very easy to make an AI demo, but making production industrial grade AI involves overcoming a number of technical challenges. Top of that list, at least what we have seen over the last few months and years working with customer, is trust and observability, right? Your AI agent should be representative of your brand to represent the best way of what your company does, and have the robustness and business rules that you have in your business. Next, of course, is security. Your workflows and automations and AI agents must have access to data that it needs, and not more. But the one of the most technical challenges that kind of we are also solving, and a lot of other people are also trying to solve, is really saying how do we enable AI not just to answer questions or send articles to a help center, but how do you enable AI to take actions on customers' behalf? So this is a problem of systems integrations, right? You need to integrate with, for example, your commerce systems or your order management systems, right? And the AI agents needs to pick up the right actions or the API at the right time. That too with the right correct inputs to the API. The inputs to the API are ID fields, and your LLM just understand human text. It's a lot of work converting human language, which is vague by definition, where LLM shines, to API language, which is strict. So there's a lot of engineering going on there, and that's what makes things from demo to production, right? That's also a problem that I just talked about of system integration and workflow orchestration, right? Some of the interaction that we have seen with some of our customers involve very complex things like deciding whether a ticket belongs to a certain category or not, and then verifying the correct address of the contact field which is present in a field in a ticket. That's kind of a sometimes 10 to 15 or even 20 step process that is beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced AI models on their own. So we really need a platform that not only orchestrate complex problem, take actions against your systems, but do so in a way that preserves trust with all your stakeholders. And all of these problems that I just talked about, uh, you know, gets is the reason for the statistics that we are seeing some of them on the screen, right? 80% of AI projects are failing. I mean, that is anecdotally twice the failure rate of regular IT projects. And companies are spending millions, fair amount of time on Gen AI deployments. And these largely have the roadblocks like, hey, I have an outdated tool where some of my APIs are not working very well or not integrated with my other stack, right? Fragmented data that is making it impossible to see the complete customer story, either for human agents or AI agents alike. And of course, engineering bottlenecks slowing down implementations, especially for support teams, and also lack of expertise in making AI work specifically for your own business needs, right? So how do we get this right? So I mean, first of all, we think that uh, while deploying these projects, we should come up with a true sense of expertise. Like let's say if you are deploying these kind of stuff in your organization, and we should be running towards complexity and not away from it. Why? Because simple Q&A represents only a small portion of your valuable customer interaction. But AI agents also need to work, also needs workflows and call APIs to do action when it needs, and that's where the complexity, arise. And also, every AI agent needs to get its own instructions, just like you would give to your own best employees. So this is where the prompt engineering and prompt expertise comes, not just from an engineering, but your, the CX teams should also uh, complement that and add to that, right? And then, once there is enough expertise and will within the organization to implement these AI agents, the agents in itself should have much more context, right? So giving AI agents just access to your documents will probably not be enough. It should also have access to your system of record, some analytics metrics and other knowledge present in your system of record, so that it can really give really, really personalized experiences, and some of which we will also see in the demo afterwards. For example, when an AI agent wants to, talk about troubleshooting a particular device, it should know about all the integrations with your product, right? While giving a personalized response to the end user. And then, these agents should not have much of buttons or forms that we have been seeing for years now. But we should really embrace the conversational experience that it gives, not just on one channel but across all the channels, and try to deploy it uh, in places where your customers are. And then, once we deployed these AI agents and automations and workflows for end customers and for improving the efficiencies of the support organization, we should also start with the mindset that, hey, there will be always improvements happening, right? So just like 15% of Google searches are always completely new, your customer constantly come up with unexpected scenarios. So we should come up, with a, thing that, hey, there will be always a team always curating the skills and always curating the prompts for these agents. So we really need a continuous improvement, and each agent should be treated as kind of a full-fledged product and not a generic solution. And the learning kind of never stops. And one should keep improving the prompts that as I talked about, and adding or editing skills continuously. Very similar like how you keep investing in your employees and enabling them with more skills slowly and slowly so that they can scale. So these are some of the procedures where, and principles that you could think about to get AI right. So let's also talk about, the kind of the what and kind of the tools that you would need to even do that. And some of it, by the way, we are also building in DevRev as part of the platform to make it easy for everyone, right? So you of course need to get AI right. You of course need a framework which will give you a contextual CX agent. So which has knowledge and context, not just from your documents and knowledge bases, but contact level data and real-time activity on what they're doing on the screen. And hence these can provide assistance across all support levels, not just L0 or L1, but even L2 or L3, right? So these CX agents, these contextual AI agents, should not talk like, hey, let me transfer you to a specialist, but should be able to resolve the query, call some API, get the data, right? And not just always handing off to a human agent, right? And then once there is a capability in the system and a framework to deploy these AI agents, there should always also be some, a really good kind of a co-pilot and assistance to human agent, right? So this is where we multiply the human agent's effectiveness by 5x, 10x, right? So instead of agents digging through documentation, the system should be alerting them proactively. And where in whatever systems you're thinking to deploy these AI agents, those should have these frameworks so that human agents are also supplemented with conversational co-pilot like experiences. And then it's also about democratizing building these things, right? So time to value is almost everything in this space, right? Everyone is moving fast, and the support team, the CCO's office should not be always bottleneck on engineering resources, right? So we really need to aim to not having months long implementation cycles, but days or hours, right? So a self-serve no-code platform that kind of transforms a particular CX team or a support team, and similar operations team into an AI automation experts uh, is really crucial with the help, and that can be done with the help of a self-serve builder. And so that, they are automating stuff, even though they are not technical, but just by just writing and giving prompts to the AI agent. So that really becomes really, foundational for them to. And then once the team and is equipped with these kind of tools, they also become more continuously tune the agent and improve the agent, right? So I mean, one of the things that within the company, within DevRev also, we kind of is are hoping for and trying to solve for, is that how do we go from deterministic logic with just simple RAG to more and more advanced automations where then we where our AI agents is actually proactive, right? So instead of saying that instead of the customer asking that, hey, I may have a failed payment, can the AI agent even say that, hey, we detected a failed payment and here is the resolution for it, right? So these are the systems that we should look for, and the kind of frameworks that we should look for, so that the AI agents can have these kind of capabilities. And some of it, of course, in DevRev that we are building for, and we can see some of it in some demos afterwards. So this was just a quick summary on CX and its overlaps with AI and where we think it is going. Uh, and now Uh, so we also have Chris from Velocity Global, and they are one of our really great customers and partners. So hey Chris, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, Shashank. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for everyone else for coming. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So guys, you must have also seen a poll on your screen. So feel free to fill that while you get time. So, hey Chris. So, again, thanks for joining on this session. So, before I even start, tell us a bit about you, what do you do, and maybe a little bit about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, everybody. I'm Chris Schutte. I am on the business operations team at Velocity Global. My role is sort of I guess, strategy analyst and solutions engineer. I kind of split them as needed. And Velocity Global is a very interesting company. It's an employer of record, which means we employ people on behalf of other companies. So if you don't want to set up an entity in XYZ country, we do it on your behalf. You pay us a fee on top of that. We maintain all of your compliance, make sure that you're providing them with the right benefits, et cetera. We do all the bureaucratic stuff in the background. What that really means in this context, especially for DevRev, is that customer support and our services, what people are paying us for, are very interwoven. In fact, sometimes they're even hard to tell the difference between. And so DevRev has been a kind of game-changing platform for us because it kind of marries the two, this internal work and support together.
Uh, yeah, that's really interesting. So, as you have talked about, you are in the business operations team. So I'm sure you work with a lot of automations across the company. So, what do you think in general about AI and automation, especially in the CX world? And if you could shed some light on what are some of the best use cases so far that you have implemented that has resonated a lot within Velocity Global.
Totally. In general, AI has sort of been the cherry on top of our automations, and I kind of explain that with in this way. A lot of times, the barrier for automating something before AI was that there was like a 20% use case at the end of a decision tree that was just too fuzzy. So I
Mm-hmm.
had all the automation set up, and then it was like, okay, when we get to this point, what happens, or what happens when this escalates? And there wasn't really an answer. Just having the ability to have something interpret a very fuzzy situation or add a new category or cluster something, even if the rest of the automation or 80% of the workflow is hard set, that allowed us to finally carry out a ton of different automations, a ton of different workflows that were otherwise stuck. So AI has just been like this perfect final stretch kind of filler that we just didn't have before because our company deals with so much obscurity. In particular, one area where AI has been huge for us, especially for DevRev, is ticket routing. So we were in Zendesk before we switched to DevRev, and one of the biggest issues is that tickets were manually categorically assigned unless they came from this form system that had a low usage rate. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was asked to do analytics over tickets, or when we were trying to send work to the right people, a lot of times they were just in a big generic category bucket. And our company, just for everyone's context here, would do thousands of tickets a month. We're talking at least 10,000 tickets a month. So this was a very unsustainable way to do work, and it was very messy to get work to the right people. Having an AI-based classification system like we have in DevRev that routes tickets to the correct parts and features, that has been such a game changer for us. Yeah, we still have some that need to be manually looked at, but the number is so low compared to what it used to be. I'm talking hundreds of hours saved at minimum with that alone.
Right, right. So before, um, I guess a lot of man hours spent on these different classifications, and this is where, things are improving. So that's a good part, but tell me about what were some of the challenges that, you maybe have been facing in implementing these kind of use cases and automations, right? That would be also helpful for the audience to,
Yeah, I
you know.
mean, no shortage of challenges when you're trying to kind of up level an operations team that's 400 strong. But I would say the biggest ones are some points you touched on already, which is AI for the large part is garbage in, garbage out.
Mm,
And when we're talking about where are we sending work, what are these categories, what are these parts, what people are on it, was this documented? No, no, we would never had a system like that before. And so when we initially set this up, we were writing definitions that were too vague, that were often overlapping. These teams didn't have clear lines of responsibilities because we were setting them up in a new way. It
mm,
took a lot of work and a lot of meetings and meetings and meetings to get people to agree on, when we send something to this part, this is precisely what it means. And this is how it's different than this part. And this feature is different than this feature because of XYZ. And starting to think from the lens of the tool in this case being AI, was a really big perspective shift that I think a lot of our leadership needed to take on. And it continues to be a challenge, but one that gets a little bit easier, every month that we're continuing to use AI.
got it. Got it. And I mean, was there any, hesitations while, implementing and adopting AI, especially, across stakeholders, or was it just excitement?
No, there's always change management is always tough, even if the change is relatively simple and relatively straightforward. Um, for us, it was a lot of uncertainty. Describing AI as kind of filling that last gap of the fuzziness makes people kind of uneasy already. But what I would walk them through is like, hey, the system we have right now is we throw stuff at people and ask them to put it in a bunch of buckets. And these people may not even be like, that's not really their job, or that's not really what they're supposed to be doing. And if we can get 95% of this stuff into the right buckets with a 5% failure rate, then we have an escalation for a human in the loop.
Mm,
What's the difference between our normal system and that one? Well, the difference is we just took 95% of the work off their plate. And if it fails, we still send it to a person. So I think it was reassuring that, like, hey, at the end of a lot of these changes, there's always a human in the loop. Someone can always keep an eye on something, and we have ways to flag things that don't look correct. But
Mhm.
this is about, taking care of a lot of this work, a lot of repetitive work that no one should be putting their eyes on. So it was just reassuring people, like, yes, the system has downsides. AI can hallucinate, but we can control for that. We can document it, and we can escalate when it happens.
Mhm. So human in the loop, that's what I got.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very important piece.
Yeah, yeah, surely. So within our organization, within DevRev too, we have kind of a very similar, these classification workflows coming. So we started with, hey, suggest me this field, and
Mhm.
then one per a month when people were comfortable, then say, okay, now update it automatically.
Right.
So that is kind of a journey always. So
Always.
yeah. While we are on this topic, what do you think were some of the improvements and concrete improvements in terms of productivity you started to see, after implementing the automations?
Yeah, we're already seeing a reduction in overall ticket solve times. And I mean, that's a big metric for us. It covers a lot of different workflows, and we're seeing that decrease for almost every single one, with
Mhm.
exceptions being things that are very legally tricky. And those are things that AI is a very difficult ask for. So it makes sense. But for things that it can touch, yeah, we're seeing
Mhm.
those go down. We're also just seeing people are much more satisfied with the way work is given to them. So no
Mhm.
longer are they getting a ton of tickets or a ton of asks that are just kind of outside of their responsibilities. The things they see are the things that they should be doing. So
Mhm.
internal satisfaction is also increasing. And we
Mhm.
just got one of our highest NPS scores from our customers that we've ever gotten in this last month. I think DevRev is absolutely a component of that.
Nice, nice. Yep, glad to hear that NPS is really important, and we
Very
wish,
important.
yeah, we wish that Deborah will keep making sure that NPS is higher. Uh, Tell me about a little bit about, what are some of the as an organization and as your team, what are some of the future plans are there in your mind to improve, the team's efficiencies via these automations and using
Lots
of
of
automation.
plans. I don't think it's any surprise based on your roadmap, but we are leaning into Turing. That is a huge component that we want to embrace fully. The
Mm,
big the big thing for us is at Velocity Global, we kind of classify the requests we get as either work requests or support requests. Support requests are these kind of general questions that especially may be answered by a help center or
mm,
a good bot that is trained on the help center.
mm,
And these work requests are things that, those are the things we're routing. Those are the things that need to be seen by a team. They're things
mm,
that maybe are more complicated. Then again, we can set up workflows for them, but that's kind of
mm,
an individual case basis. So our big push in Q1 and Q2 of next year is
mm,
turning on Turing, training it on pre-approved compliance knowledge content. This is global employment compliance knowledge, and making sure that these simple questions that we just get tons of every month, thousands of, can be
mm,
answered with a conversational agent, something that we trust that has verified information, and we don't have to
mm.
continuously ping our operations team with these anymore.
Yeah. I mean, just for the people in the webinar, Turing is a conversational AI agent for for customers. So that's really exciting. Uh, and let's also touch upon, touch upon some other things like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm sure you must have implemented a lot of these, different projects and automations. So what were some of the, automation or related projects that did not work?
Sure.
And what were the learnings from that?
Yeah, yeah. We've had plenty of workflows we've tried to implement with other services. I'll tell you where it specifically got pretty tricky is trying to implement automation workflows when we were still in Zendesk. It's a tough
Mm,
API to work with. I don't know if anyone here has ever worked with that before. And having your workflows outside of the system that you're constantly interacting with, not only does it, most of these workflow automation systems charge you by operations or
yeah.
runs, right?
Mhm.
The more operations and runs you have, the more expensive it gets. The more you're interacting with all of these external APIs, it's going to cost
Mm,
us more money. And if you're using Zapier, you're using Make, those are more expensive to run. If you can build those in the system itself in DevRev, it's going to be easier
mm,
for us. So we had a lot of trouble constantly interacting with all of these APIs. If we're able to center it, it's a lot easier. And then kind of like I mentioned before, like there was a lot of automations that we tried to build, classification system, we tried to build clustering models, we tried to build that struggled because of our data. Like this is the thing. If we can't give LLMs proper context, if we can't give them vetted context, they fail. That we have to take ownership and responsibility over the context we give these systems, the definitions we give these systems, and take it a lot more seriously. And so our entire company is kind of leaned towards better data governance,
Mm.
better approval flows for all of this information, and better centralization. This includes internal processes, external processes, everything,
Mm.
because we know that they're going to be feeding agents and feeding models more than they ever have been before. So a lot of learnings in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. So no, if there's no context, then there has to be some failures in the implementation.
Very much so. Very much so.
Cool. Thanks so much, Chris, for joining. And I think we'll now go to the our next section. And by the way, really insightful, conversation. And I hope the audience also like this.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good. So for the next section, we will also, go through a very small demo, and try to put some visuals into whatever we discussed till now, and what does even conversational AI looks like, right? So just give me a minute. So, let's get down to, some real stuff that you could see on the product and see, kind of feel what does conversational AI and these different smart automations, what does it even look like, right? So, what you're seeing on the screen is a fictitious financial company called Maple Software, right? And let's say I am one of the customers of Maple Software, and my name is Emma. And I'm looking at my dashboards. I use Maple APIs to power my transactions, and I have recently expanded in Europe, and I'm seeing one of the international purchases, one of the international transaction has, there's an error status there, right? So I'm a little bit worried. I can go to this small widget here, which is basically a conversational widget, uh, which is, and then I will ask, hey, let's try to talk to the, this conversation agent and see if it can help me or not. So now this is, the kind of Turing that Chris was also mentioning, replied back, and notice how personal it is, right? It knows that I have logged in as the name Emma, and hence it has, greeted me with a personalized response. So since I have recently expanded in Europe and some transactions are failing, there's a natural question to ask that, hey, do you accept payment in euros? So the agent here is saying that, hey, yes, we do accept payment in euro, but specifically Emma has, expanded into Switzerland. So let's just check again. Do you even accept payments in Switzerland? So yes, the agent here says that, hey, Maple also support transaction in Switzerland. So this is kind of the interaction that you have seen here is basically kind of, L0, L1 deflection based on based on simple SOPs and documentation that you have fed it into the AI system, right? But let's notch it a little bit more, right? So hey, but I have been seeing some recent failures. Let's see what it. So yeah. So now the AI agent is basically saying to me that, hey, I've reviewed your recent transactions, and it appears that yes, there was a failure for international purchase transaction, which transaction ID this, for amount this, and this is because the currency euro is not even enabled for your account. So this is what you're seeing right now is this information is not coming anywhere from a knowledge base, right? This is a real API call happening with user context to a backend system and fetching data from there, right? So okay, and this is also trying to give me a solution that, hey, would you like me to enable this particular currency for your account? So I will say yes. So it has said that, hey, euro currency has been successfully enabled. If you had noticed something on this side of the screen, earlier, though available currencies were just USD and Australian dollar, now it is euros too. So again, real API calls happening without writing whole workflow with a really, brittle if else rules. It's more adaptive, and the AI agent knows when to call what, right? So that's good. But I'm a little bit more worried that, hey, what about all of my transactions, right? Uh, are there any more, error transactions? So I'll say, hey, can you list all the recent transactions? So again, this the AI agent is now calling one of the workflows or skills to talk to the your backend systems and hear the Maple software and telling that, hey, these are the summary of the recent transactions, and some of them I can see is succeeded and some of them is failed. So as I can see, only one is failed and every other recent transaction is successful. That's okay, right? So, but I'm trying to click on the view reports, but nothing is happening. But let's switch the context, right? And say that, hey, but let's say right now, when I am clicking on view reports, nothing is happening on the screen. So sometimes it takes a bit. So yeah. So it is saying that, hey, you might be experiencing some technical issue with the view reports feature here. So it kind of understood that I'm talking about this particular feature and trying to give some SOP, that is standard and written by by Maple. But if says that, hey, if the problem continues after trying this step, I can help escalate the issue to our technical team. Would you like me to do that for you? Yes, please create the ticket as the problem is not yet solved for me, right? So now the AI agent has also created the ticket for me for this particular for this particular problem that I am trying to, solve for, right? So let's switch the gear here and see what's happening on the back end, right? So what's the world like for the support agents who are on Maple? So first of all, a lot of deflections already happening. Some simple query based on SOPs and knowledge bases already given by the AI agent. And by the way, these knowledge bases can be just imported into DevRev within just a few minutes or hours. And then some resolutions also happened. And this was one of the problems that AI just was not able to solve for. And this is where the ticket was automatically created by the AI agent. And notice a few things here, right? The title and the description of this ticket is automatically populated. There were no forms for the end customer, Emma, here to fill this up in a clunky form, right? So the AI agent had the context from the session and it created these different things. It also classified, by the way, that this is a bug ticket. And by the way, it also said that it may be related to the reports product of the Maple report feature. And then, these are kind of the severity, and this is the account of, of the related customer, right? And then let's see a little bit more, right? So it is also telling me that, hey, there were some API calls happening while the customer was raising this ticket. This was probably, 408, incident happening, 408 error happening in the API. And hence, so imagine now from a support agent perspective, so they have their ticket coming in. They don't have to triage a lot, classify it a lot, and route it to the correct people, as most of the things has been already done and is just going to the right person in their inbox. And then while they are trying to solve this, they are all also, having, you know, uh, uh, um, some comments from these AI agents, say and giving them more context out of the box even before they start, solving for this ticket, right? So you are seeing here the AI agent solving as a co-pilot for the support agent as well, right? So this is one small demo that I just wanted to share with everyone, and showcasing how these AI agents can be really conversational for the end users, and also creating tickets and triaging them for the support agents as co-pilots for them. So yep, that is pretty much it from the demo side. Uh, and let's see if we have some questions.
I have any pressing questions as much as all the features you just showed off are ones that we've been talking about implementing on and off, like trying to build it ourselves for like a year and a half. And now we can just get it from DevRev. So that is very that's very exciting for me because we're digging in on this platform and now we can give that proper context to our agents. It's huge. It's huge. And that was one of the big things we've heard from our own customers is they want it to like already know their case, and that if things get escalated, that's usually what they need. They need it to fully know their story with us. So I'm excited. That was a good demo. That was a good demo for me.
So that's I think then we can call it a day.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining, and please wait for the recording. We will share it over. You can still watch it.